guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today we are going to be doing some rainbow watercolor, but make it clean, like with some nice, bold, clean backgrounds. And so I am using some products from the upcoming Style and Bloom release. These products are not out yet, but this is the Heartfelt Honeys, the Be Well, and the Honeycomb Dyes. That will be released on April 15th with Honeybee Stamps. There's more to say about the set, but let's get into the rainbow watercolor real quick. So I'm just using my distress inks for this. I like distress inks, but you can also use oxides. Oxides will just dry back a little bit chalkier. Inks tend to be a bit brighter. And so I've just smushed them down on my glass mat. I've added a little bit of water. I've also sprayed my background. The first background is going to be the quote unquote messiest of the bunch. And I am just going to do a rainbow concentrated in the center. So here you'll notice I did the pink and then the orange. The yellow I brought down through the middle, as this is going to be my buffer color into those kind of cooler colors from the warm. And then I'm going to do the green. The blue, again, is going to be my buffer color between the purple and the yellow, because they're complementary colors and they'll make brown, which is not exactly the vibe we're going for, right? So I'm going to still get my rainbow. You can see kind of in that top right hand corner how I have a little bit of extra water and it's pooling. I don't love the way that that is looking. Watercolor is really forgiving. So if you have that happen, just take a paper towel or a washcloth, whatever you have. I have some craft cleanup cloths that I keep, and I'm just going to go in and blot that up, and then I can go back in, add more color, redefine the edge. I kept this kind of really organic. And like I said, when people talk about like, oh, I don't love messy watercolor, I totally get that. This will be the messiest of the group. The other two are cleaner, but all three of the designs, we're all using the same products, kind of stretching those supplies, getting different looks, and all of them will still have a really clean graphic look to them. So for the next two, I chose to do some masking. On this card right here, it does matter. The masking does matter. I'm just using my mint tape. You could use like low tack tape, frog tape, blue painter's tape. Any of those will work. And I am working on watercolor paper. I should have said that. This is the Alt New Cold Press watercolor paper. But I am just masking off a really simple rectangle. So when you have elements like a watercolor where maybe it's a little bit messier, you can make the design super clean using more geometric shapes and frames. That's going to be like your BFF if you're looking for a kind of a bold, clean design. So for the other, like the one that we did with the mint tape, I'm masking the outside. For this one, I'm using some Gina K masking magic to mask the inside. And then for this one, I'm actually just going to do the corners. So I'm going to create a kind of a balanced design by adding my watercolor just in the corners. This is still going to give me lots of white space. All of that taped off area will be white. And so this will add color and interest, as well as like leading the eye to our focal point, which will be in the center, but still give us that kind of watercolor rainbow vibe without it being too overwhelming or too messy. So the one in the bottom, I did the primary colors with the pink, the blue, and the yellow. And then up in the top, I did the blue, the green, and the purple. I realized I needed to have some orange, so it made sense to add that to the yellow at the bottom. And then in order for it to kind of feel connected, I added a little bบof pink next to that purple so that those colors are mirroring each other. I knew for that one I was going to use little pink hearts, so that would give me, a little more of that color. For this one, I'm wetting the entirety of the outside of this. Would it have been more beneficial to use a flat brush, a wider flat brush? Yes, absolutely. But I already had this one in my hand, and so I just went with it. This was a number 4 round brush, also from Altenew. And then here, I started with the pink, and then I'm just working in the rainbow order. So pink, next to the pink, I'm doing the orange, then the yellow, green, blue, purple. You get the whole idea. This is sped up, by the way. So let's talk about these stamps and dies here for a second. So you may notice that they look a little familiar, especially if you've been in the industry for a minute. Like if you've been a crafter for a while, you might recognize the style as being from Paper Smooches. And Paper Smooches, I adored their style. Big fan of Paper Smooches. And Kim, whose last name was Hughes at the time that I first met her, but now is Mraz. She's married to her wonderful husband, Tommy. And so her last name is a little different. Okay, let's talk about what's happening here. So here, before I cut, I started to pull out all of my papers and stuff to cut my bees and my honeycombs. And I was like, oh, I should get out I never think to do this when I have more intricate dies, but this time I did. And so I got some double-sided adhesive and I'm putting it on the back of my Nina Solar white cardstock. That way, when I die cut all of these little intricate pieces, they're going to have the adhesive already on the back of them, and I'll just have to stick it off, like just peel it off, and I won't have to worry about it, and it'll be glorious. And I'm so glad that I did. It was an excellent idea on my part. But then you may have noticed some other colors that I pulled out. So I pulled out a white kind of sparkle glitter paper. I pulled out a gold metallic. I pulled out black as well. Because the other way that we can make these designs really clean is by creating contrast, creating texture, and creating like a wow element. You know, when you have something that's a little bit more clean and simple, like these cards are, having one additional kind of like wow element really helps to bring the whole thing together. So that could be a metallic cardstock, that could be a glitter paper, you know, that could be, you know, a certain type of coloring or a certain technique that you do with inks or pastes or whatever. But it's nice when there is like one element that just has like a ton of pizzazz and really makes it this kind of the star of the show. So I cut all of them out of white, and then I cut the background piece, like the base piece, out of this glitter paper. So that is going to make all of my little bees and hearts glittery, which honestly I have no regrets about. In order to use up create some of that contrast, I did cut my little honeycombs out of black, and then I also ended up cutting out a frame. So here I waited till these were completely dry, and then I removed my masking paper. This masking paper is still good. This tape is still good. Once it's dry, I will be able to reuse it again and again for other things. I did notice it wasn't completely clean with the Gina K masking magic, but I think maybe I didn't adhere it down all the way. But it was pretty close, honestly. It was pretty close. I'm not mad about it. So here I'm going to create a black frame. So I have cut 2 rectangle dies next to each other, and then this one is actually slightly smaller than the smallest of the black ones, which is going to give me then a matte for the other one. Because remember, we talked about creating contrast is a great way to keep a clean and simple design, but then also reinforcing those geometric shapes and frames will give us really clean, bold designs that lend itself well to this particular style of card making. So with the design I ended up going with on this rainbow frame over here, did I need to do the masking? No, I didn't. In hindsight, I did not, but I didn't know that at the time. So I wanted to leave it in because this is how I went about my process. And, you know, maybe that will inspire you to do something else. So here I have not only my die cuts cut out of white with the adhesive on the back, I also then have my glitter bases that are underneath there. So I'm just holding them in place because this is the first one that I've colored and I want to see how it's going to lay down. Once I saw that you know, it laid down really nicely on that glitter paper, then I just removed them. I just colored them separately, and you'll see I'll lay them on top of them here, and there won't be any issues with like a break in the color because they'll just lay really nicely one on top of each other. So I did the wings in light blues, and then I'm going to do the bodies here. Like the glitter paper bodies have to be yellow because the top piece is going to be what creates that black stripe, and then the feet will be black as well as the stinger. So that's how I chose which one I colored which. So it made more sense to do the base yellow, and then I will do the heart pink, and like I said, the top part of the body black. So that's why they're just different. That middle piece is different because I need the 2 color stripes. So anyway, back to Kim. So I've known Kim for years. I used to do some guest design for work for her when she owned Paper Smooches, and she was doing a bunch of other things. She was doing like a paint and sip thing, and she ended up choosing to close down Paper Smooches, which you guys know how it is. Like, you know, when you've been in the industry a long time, sometimes you do need a little bit of a break. But I was super sad to see them go. Well, now Kim has partnered with Melissa from Honeybee Stamps, and so now we have new designs. Isn't that amazing? I love this industry, and like creators helping creators and women-owned businesses helping women-owned businesses. Like, I am totally here for that. And it means that I get to use her super cute designs again. So I'm totally not mad about that at all. So these are Kim's designs. There are a couple of sets in this release. I'm excited to show them to you guys. And this is just a couple of the things that are being released. And look, we created 3 cards just from these things in 3 totally different layouts, and they're adorable. They are so cute. So then once we got done with the coloring, I just made sure, like when I laid them down, that I was happy with the way that they were looking, and then we can start building the card and putting everything together. So in order to put these together, I just have to peel off that release paper off the back. And then I have that adhesive already there. I can just line it up with the base of my die cut. And so my top is just regular colored not colored cardstock that I colored. And then the base is that glitter paper, which is also colored the same, but has that shiny iridescent glitter, which I totally love. Because you guys know I can't help myself. I need to have all of the glitters and all of the shimmers. So for this first card, I wanted to incorporate that honeycomb in a really kind of like graphic way that was just going to be bold and pop off the page while still utilizing a lot of that white space. And so I opted to just reinforce that over my watercolor corners. Because these are catty cornered to each other, they are going to be really balanced with our design. So we have the watercolor and then the honeycombs in the bottom right and the top left. And I just did that the same way. I added a little bit of adhesive. I laid it down over the honeycomb. I trimmed off the excess, and then I did the same thing in the top corner. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my adhesive on there. And then this is going to frame out that watercolor piece. I'm going to be honest with you. I love all of the cards, but this one might be my favorite. Which you would think, because like I would want more rainbow, but I just love the way that this one came out. And it's just like the rainbows are popping, and that black has given that contrast, but it's still got super clean lines with the frame. It's just totally right up my alley. So I did the hearts. I opted to put 2 of the hearts at the top because I knew that my sentiment would go at the bottom and balance that out. So then for this one here, which is the first background we did, I did trim it down. And again, I'm going to keep the edges really clean with a black matte. And then here, in order to make these pop and create that contrast, I'm going to put my white honeycomb down offset on a piece of black honeycomb. And that's going to give it a lot of dimension and help it to kind of pop off of that rainbow background. So that way we still have that contrast, but it isn't like, there's not like honeycomb everywhere. We just moved it into a diagonal from top right to bottom left and filled that in. I'm going to do 2 other smaller pieces. You can kind of, with that leftover black that we have, and I'm going to adhere those down. For these guys, I decided to just switch it up a little bit and pop them up. I used some foam tape to pop up the bees, kind of one in the top left and one in the bottom right. and then I'm going to do the sentiment right in between them. So it kind of brings everything together. I love the way that watercolor rainbow looks. It's so pretty. This one is the simplest, but probably the cleanest of the designs. Here, I'm using some leftover white honeycomb to put in the background. This is going to create texture and interest without kind of mucking up the super clean lines, because it's a white on white. So by putting this down, it's not just a plain white background. It gives that bee a little something to sit on, but it doesn't pull away from that bold, clean line that we are looking for. So in the second one, I popped up just the bees. In this one, I'm going to pop up the whole panel using foam tape or like, what do they have? Like the clear adhesive, like anything that, or even just stacking up a couple of pieces of cardstock is going to add interest because it's going to give your piece a little bit of height. So then for the sentiments, I did grab another one. This little Get Well Soon is from a different set. It's not in the Be Well set. But then I treated my black cardstock with my anti-static tool. I stamped in our brilliant white pigment ink, and then I did the Be Well twice because I needed a longer sentiment for balance for 2 of the cards, and then I did the Get Well Soon because I needed one that was just a little bit more solid. So I did the white detail embossing powder, cut those out with their coordinating dies, and then adhered them onto the cards. Of course, there's more. I need more glitter. You guys know this. So I'm using the rainbow rhinestones to add some bling, but also to help lead the eye. So for this one piece that has the honeycombs, I'm doing it in the same direction the honeycombs are going. For the one that's a little bit cleaner, this one here, I'm using it to accent the sentiments. And then for the one that has the corners, I'm using it to lead from the sentiment to the top of the card, or from the top of the card down to the sentiment. So here's a little recap. I love these. I love Kim's designs. I'm so excited that I get to play with her stuff again. And this will be in the store on April 15th. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.